Hello everyone. So before explaining what is SQL injection, first I need to explain what is SQL, or at least why it's important. SQL is an structured query language which it was created for users to be able to access a database in a more efficient way. So data is stored inside columns which are part of a table, and these tables is what forms the database. As we can see in the diagram, there is a database and there is a table with 3 columns: category, released, and items. So if we want to retrieve data from one of the rows, what is happening behind is that there is a query which is being sent to the database. Here we can see an example of a query. What it's doing is selecting all the columns from the products table, where the column category equals the data value gifts and the column released equals the data value 1. If these data values are matching, it will retrieve the data stored in the rows from the rest of the columns. Now, if the application hasn't sanitized the code or validated the code, then the attacker can trick the application to send a query to the database to retrieve more data than it should. The payload that you can see on the screen, what it's doing is, by typing the single quote, is closing the query, and then that or1 equals 1 is giving the option to true, and then is commenting the rest of the query. This way it will bypass the filter and leak all the data from the table. Now I'm gonna run a demonstration, and to do that I'm gonna access PortSwiger Web Security Academy, where you can find all type of different web application vulnerabilities and you can exploit them. It's actually a very good platform. So I'm just gonna click on the first lab, and I want to exploit the vulnerability that I explained just a couple of minutes ago. And we are presented with a shopping website in which we need to try to retrieve more data than actually should. There is a query in the backend which is retrieving data from the database, and we need to try to trick it. So to bypass the query, first of all we need to select one of the categories, in this case accessories, and we see 3 items only. So what we're gonna do, as an attacker, we can take advantage of the URL, and let's try to check if there is a vulnerability error base or not. We type a single quote and we see that there is an internal server error. We remove it and there is no syntax error anymore. So the application is vulnerable. Now let's inject the payload that I showed a couple of minutes ago and try to bypass that filter. We're gonna comment the rest of the query as well. And when I press enter, we see that it has leaked more items than we are meant to see. Before we could see 3 items only, and now we can see the whole categories and all the items in the table. So that's the vulnerability. Thank you for watching.